Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the 2001 Feature Game Selection Show. Now, I'm getting ready to start my 2001 baseball season replay on January 1st. But before we get there, we need to go through what I call the 2001 Feature Game Selection Show, where just like it sounds, we're going to select the games that are going to be featured on the board during the 2001 season replay. Well, most of them anyway. So before we get started, a few things that I want to talk about in terms of how I do the replay. First, the way I do the regular season schedule is I divide the schedule into blocks of 4 days. And I'll play one game per 4 days of baseball and then fast play the rest. Previously, I've used Fast Score Baseball for this purpose, but after problems I was having in 1985, where I would have to massage some of the standings just to get the game counts to look right, and how smoothly everything ran for my 2009-10 hockey season replay, I've decided to use Ultra Quick Baseball instead by Downey Games. Now, there is a little bit of work that has to go into setting up the Downey ticker, so I'll show you guys how I do that as well. Next, let's talk a little bit about how the playoffs are going to work. So I'm going to stick with a similar format. And if you've watched RJL Network's his playoffs and how he does his playoffs on his replays for Inside Pitch, I'm going to use the same format. So the sixth seed will go to the 5 seed for a single elimination wildcard game. This will be in both leagues. Then the winner of that will go to the 4 seed, and then the winner of that will be the wildcard champion and will advance to play the 1 seed in the division series round. For the wildcard teams, I won't reset starting pitching rotations unless they get into the LCS round. And then the LDS will be best of 5, and then the LCS and World Series will both be best of 7. So that's how that's going to work for the playoffs. In addition, for the standings, each team that makes the playoffs, except for the division champions, has to have at least a winning record, or the playoffs will be modified. So if the 6th seed finishes the replay under 500, then they won't make the playoffs. So in essence, we'd go right to the 5 at 4, and then that winning team would go to the division series round against the 1 seed. So hopefully that all makes sense, and I'm just kind of giving you guys some information on how everything works in case this happens to be your first full season replay that you're watching on the channel. Next, let's talk a little bit about some extra videos that you'd see during getting ready for a summer season replay. So there would be a summer project selection show, where we'd go through, eliminate seasons, and then eventually the four projects that make it there. And I'm going to be playing around with a new project idea that will potentially go into summer voting. You'll be able to vote on those projects during the selection show, and then during the season recap and reveal show, which of course is not needed for the winter season either, because the winter season is an executive pick. So during the season reveal show, then the seasons will roll their dice to see which season or project will be the next replay or project on the channel. Hopefully that all makes sense, and it'll probably make more sense when we get into our next summer season that we're getting ready for. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and start setting up the replay. First, we'll tab over and we'll take a look at the historical standings for the regular season during the replay. And you can see in the AL East, I'll widen this out a little bit. The Yankees, of course, won the division with a record of 95-65. So I am going to keep the historic standings just so I have a comparison to work with. Then the Red Sox, then the Blue Jays. In the AL Central, the Indians won that division, followed by the Twins and the White Sox. That could be an interesting race. Then in the AL West, this was the year Seattle won 116 games. Then Oakland with 102, which is respectable in its own right. Then in the NL East, we see the World Series champion from 1985, the Montreal Expos, were very forgettable. Atlanta, of course, won the division, and then Philadelphia. As for the NL Central, the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals ended up tied historically, with the Cubs behind them. So that could be an interesting race. Then the NL West, the historic World Series champion Diamondbacks won the division just barely over the Giants. The Dodgers look to be very much in the thick of the race. Now, I'm going to take this as a start point Like I said, I'm going to keep this so I can compare paces in case a team played less than 162 games, like I see the Yankees did. The Red Sox did as well. Looks like the Blue Jays did. So it looks like there were quite a few teams. And of course, there was the delay from the September 11th terror attacks. So we'll be accounting for that when we get to the ticker as well. So I'm going to copy all of this over into my replay standings tab. I'm going to drop a few things here. This is all text-based, so I'm going to actually drop these off. I'm actually going to set up a new games back column. Help so I can spell. So we'll just stick with that GB being games behind or games back, however you want to put that. I'm going to be doing a little bit of formula setup. Okay. And I'll go ahead and delete all of these one-loss columns, or all these one-loss totals from the historical replays. Also, while we're going through this stream, this is going to be a little bit more of a chill stream than my game streams normally are. So we'll make this an Ask Me Anything stream as well. So if there's anything you want to ask me, you can leave a question in the chat with an AMA tag on it, and as long as it's not too personal, I'll answer it. Standard AMA guidelines will apply, though. If you wouldn't want a question asked of you, don't ask it of me. That's really the only guideline I have there. So now that we've got that set up, let's go get our team ratings. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is we need the ratings for the teams. So I'm going to copy all of this. These are the ratings from Ultra Quick Baseball. Excuse me. And yes, I do want to copy the text. But I'm going to take that over into Notepad, and you'll see why I'm doing it this way. So, okay, looks like this. Okay, so we've got team, win, loss. Although this is going to turn into a mess because this is all tab delimited when we get into Excel. So I'm going to put an apostrophe in on what looks like the home column. This will make sense when we get into Excel. And the reason I'm doing this is if I don't do it this way, I'm going to end up with either division or errors in this column, and I don't want that. So the apostrophe, like I said, the apostrophe looks a little bit weird, but it will make sense when we get into Excel with it. It'll be a little while before it makes sense, but trust me, it will make sense. So I'm going to copy all of that, and now I'm going to paste it into Excel in the ratings column. And the first thing I want to do here is once I'm in Excel, I want to make sure I've got my leftmost column highlighted. I want to go to my data tab and do a text to columns. This is going to be delimited. The delimiter should be tab delimited. Actually, it's either tab. I think that's actually space delimited. So we'll go ahead and copy all of that out, and then we'll finish. Now I'm going to add in another column here because I'm going to call this concatenated team name. So I'm going to do. So I'm actually going to add in 2 more columns, and I need an abbreviation. I need an abbreviation column as well because the tickers I've downloaded it from retrosheet.com actually has the team abbreviations in there. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to concatenate the team names together. So I believe we want concat. So actually, let's do the teams that only have two columns of name. So we'll do concat, first column, then we'll put a space in. That way we don't end up with Arizona Diamondbacks. Actually, I'll show you what we're not going to have happen, and then I'll show you how we get around that. So if I widen that out, you can see we've got Arizona Diamondbacks like so. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go back into my concat function, and I'm going to put in a single space in quotes. Then I'm going to put a comma in, and now you can see that Arizona Diamondbacks is behaving exactly how I want it to. Then we'll come over here for a second, and we'll see if we can find in Arizona a game in here. So I'm going to have to highlight all of that. I thought the Diamondbacks played day 1 to start the season. Maybe they don't. Oh, here we go. So it looks like the abbreviation we want there is ARI. Hold on. So we'll fill that in here. All right, now we're going to take the concatenation function And I'm going to copy that down for all of the teams that have 2 words in the name. Just like so. Then we'll do the concatenation for anybody that's got 3 names in the that's got 3 words for the name. So concat is just going to be the same exact thing. Just like so. Oop, not that one. Okay, that should be everything there. Then we'll do the same thing for the angels. This is going to be a 5. This is going to be a 5-cell concatenation, but it's fine. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy all of that and do a paste values. That way, for the next step, okay, so where is paste? Here we go. Paste values. This way, as I start deleting columns from here, I'm not going to lose anything. But let's go find our abbreviation. So I'll need the abbreviation so I can do VLOOKUPs in a little bit. So Boston, there'll be some teams that I recognize right off the top of my head. So Boston, I believe Chicago is going to be Chicago National, something like that. And I'm going to be tabbing around here a fair amount. So Baltimore, ATL, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Colorado, Detroit, Florida probably. I'm just guessing at some of these. Probably KCA for Kansas City. Yeah, that looks likely. All right. I believe the Dodgers are LAN, which means these are the Angels are going to either be ANA for Anaheim or LAA for Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim or Los Angeles American League. Looks like they're Anaheim. Okay, and then Brewers should be Milwaukee, Minnesota. Let's see, where do we find Montreal? Montreal is either going to be MON or M. Okay, looks like Montreal is MON. Actually, is San Diego. Morning, Jester. We're just going through setup for getting the ticker together. All right, Seattle, San Francisco. I don't know if the Cardinals are going to be STL or STN. Let's see if we can find out. Actually, I think St. Louis is SLN. San Diego. Oh, SDN for San Diego. That would probably make more sense. So, SDN. What did we say? STL for St. Louis, I think. Yeah, I think that looks about right. Then we've got probably Tampa Bay, TBA for Tampa Bay. Yep. Then we've got Texas for Texas Rangers and Toronto for the Blue Jays. Okay. So now that we've got that done, now we're going to start deleting columns from here for the ratings. We're going to delete like so, shifting left. We're going to do the same thing here. And I know it seems weird that I'm doing this. STL for St. Louis. So I gather you're going to be pulling for St. Louis in this replay. But I should probably warn you, if you've been watching, you've probably followed along with 1991 and 1985. You'll know that, unfortunately for you, The Cardinals have been very much snake bitten in my playoffs so far. They have yet to win a playoff game on the channel. So shifting cells left. Okay. So wait a minute. I think I've got... Oh, I see what happened here. I've got to delete the header row. So now we've got everything lined up. So now we've got everything lined up in the cell names in the cells properly in Excel. This is where, if you saw the apostrophe earlier, this is where that's going to come into play. So Downey's a little bit annoying in this regard, where you can see they've got, they do ratings based on letters for the teams, but they do adjustments based on numbers. So what we're going to have to do, I don't hate St. Louis, and I don't have them lose. I've got to refresh my memory on how Downey's got this set up. I don't know if they adjust pitching and defense. They probably do. So actually, yeah, they do now that I think about it. So this is where this is going to come into play. So I believe on the left it's home and then right is away. At least that's what I'm going to go with here. So now on these columns, I'm going to do another. On this column, I'm going to do another text to columns, and it's going to be delimited again. This time, the delimiter is actually going to be the backslash. And then I'll go through this row. We'll do a control replace, not control F, control H. So we'll find the apostrophe and take that out. So now we've got the ratings, and that'll come into play in a minute here. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my letter number conversion ready that I'm going to need. So we're going to go A1A, and it'll make sense. Now this is where it gets a little bit annoying. So I'm going to actually, do I still have my? No, I don't, but I can grab it from another replay. So hold on just a second. 2009-10 replay. Here we go. Letter number conversion. I'll just make a copy of this. Rather than reinvent the wheel, I'll just make a copy of my letter number conversion into... I'll just make a copy of that. So rather than reinvent the wheel... what you can see here, all I've done is I've just got from A to Z, and then the numbers they represent, and then back to the letter. So I'm going to use both sides, essentially both letters on both sides of this, and how... let's go into how I do that now. But before we do, I need to make some date changes here. So as you might know, as any of you might know, baseball does have delays, and that's a very real thing here. So I'm going to move the makeup column here, which actually, if you scroll down, does have the makeup date in it. I don't necessarily care why the game was postponed. All I care about is that it was. So I'm going to move this over into the makeup column, and then I'm going to make another column here called final date. And all this is going to be is if, so all I want to say is, hold on, is equal to if B2, how do I want to do this? Actually, before we do that, I've got to go get the oven, so I will be right back. It's a Saturday, so I'm doing normal prep stuff for the week. Anyway, what I was saying, so if B2 is not equal to that, so if B2 is not equal to that, then I want to use B2, else I want to use A2. So all that's going to be is the final date. So now let's fill that down, and we'll make sure that took. So what I'm making right now is chicken salad that I normally make for lunch during the week next week. That was not something I need for Mystical Munchies. What Mystical Munchies will be later is actually it's actually the entree for Redo Month out of the Dungeons and Dragons Flavors of the Multiverse cookbook, where we will be revisiting the Rothy steak as I have problems speaking English. Anyway, okay, perfect. So you can see here, we had a game that was postponed, and now I've got the correct final date in there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do another copy paste values, because now I want that final date, because that's the final date I actually want. Which means now I can delete these two date columns because I no longer need them. Let's just double check it here. Just one more time so you can see that indeed the formula that I put in worked just fine here. So now I can take these and delete them out. I'm also going to delete the number of game. There are actually a few columns in here I don't necessarily care about. So now I can take those columns out that I no longer need. And we'll start moving in columns that I do care about. League is another one I don't care about. Let's see. I'm going to start with 5 columns. I think that's how many I need. So we'll go back all the way back up to the top. We'll start off with visitor bat. So visitor bat, then visitor bat number. Visitor bat number. And this is where that letter number conversion is going to come into play, but I'll show you how that's going to work. So visitor defense. Then we will have, I'm just going to look at the ratings for a second. I'm actually not going to use the pressure rating because that translates to extra innings. And when I was doing testing way back when on Ultra Quick Baseball, I found myself going way too often, oh my God, will somebody please win this game? So when we get into extra innings, I'm actually going to use a clutch roll from Fast Score instead because I have both Ultra Quick Baseball and Fast Score, and that'll tie into my house rule that I use for to combat long games on weeknights. I'll explain more about that a little bit later in the in this show. So let's see. Then I'll deal with the HFA home and away later. Let's see. So ticker, visitor defense. That's going to be. I think that's going to have to be number as well. Probably. I think that's going to need a conversion as well. No, actually, that's not going to need a conversion because that's already number. Actually. Yeah, so then we'll have a final. So we'll have visitor final. And I'll copy all of this over, but I'm going to add in 2 more columns on the home side. So this will be home, HFA home. This will be HFA home, HFA away. And actually here, I'm going to make a change as well. So I'm going to change visitor out for home. Okay. Now that we've got that all set up, now this is where the abbreviations are going to come into play. So here I'm just going to do a VLOOKUP. Taking the abbreviation, I'll take that over to... You might also see comments from me. That's where I'm noting columns that I need. So I'm going to take the bat over... Actually, back to the ticker for a second. So that's going to be B2. Now I'm going to take that over to my ratings, starting with the abbreviation. I'm going to precision reference that so when I go to look it up, it'll fill correctly down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the bat. False. Okay. Then for the bat number, this is where the conversion comes into play. So I'm going to VLOOKUP that. I'll take that rating over to my letter number conversion to false. Okay. Then we'll take the visitor defense. So this will be another VLOOKUP. Taking the abbreviation back over to the rating. Precision reference that. Defense here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. False. Okay, and then those we should be able to fill right over. We should be able to copy those over into the home side. So actually we need visitor final, and we're going to need, that'll be visitor final number. That'll be visitor final number, and then visitor final letter. Because when I go to do the lookup on the charts for Ultra Quick Baseball, it'll be actually based on the letter rating. So final number, and then this will be home final letter. Okay, so back on the visitor, so over on the home side now, I'm going to do the same VLOOKUP. I'm going to take the home team, we'll take that over to our ratings, and then counting out to get to the home rating, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for that. Then we'll do another VLOOKUP here. Once again, using the home team. Take that over to the ratings, and this time for the HFA away, we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. False. Okay, so now we're going to make our final adjustments. So for the home final, we're going to go sum of the home batter rating, visitor defense, hold on, wait. Visitor defense and HFA home. There's no way in 2001 Texas had a defense of 5. Maybe they did, though. Apparently they did. Looks like based on that. Okay. Then we'll do the same thing here. So for, actually that was, so we need to do the same sum over here. So sum is going to be visitor batting number, the home defense, and the negative for the home away. Because when you're on the road, you subtract the home field advantage rating. So now we'll fill that on that side all the way. Hold on. Okay, something SLN I think SLN was San Diego. So let me go over to Fast Score for a second. That's April 4th. So April 4th. Yeah, it looks like that's San Diego. Okay, so let's go back into the replay. Actually, it's going to be the ratings. So SLN. Seems a little bit weird that they abbreviate. Seems a little weird that they abbreviate San Diego as SLN, but I'm not going to bother with it. I'm not going to argue with them at this point. So that should... No, actually they do abbreviate it as SDN. I thought there was another team that I was missing here. Let me try filling that all the way down again. Oh, I think retro... This is... So, actually, this is not how I'm doing this. Actually, the way I can do it, I should be able to just swap out SLN with STL. I think that's what I'm going to do instead, because that'll make a lot more sense. So, SLN with STL. Need 81 replacements there, and I'll have to do the same thing on the home side. Okay, now we should... And they've got FLO as FLA. So they're a little bit of... So I guess Retro Sheet has some weird abbreviations. So we'll do the same thing there. And we'll make sure that filled all the way down. Looks like we're good there. Okay. So now we can go up to the home rating. Oh, I don't think I finished the calculation here. Did I? Oh. No, I didn't yet. And actually home final letter. So let's go ahead and fill this all the way down. Oop. Come on. There we are. So oh, wait, hold on. So actually this needs to be... Okay, D2, they're going to go minus the home defense. And then minus home. And then it's going to be the same thing here. So minus visitor defense. Okay, let's fill that all the way down. There we go. Okay, then we have the visitor final letter. You can probably guess what we're doing with this at this point, is I'm actually going to take, so we're going to take the final number that we've got for both teams. We're going to take that back over to our letter number conversion. And we're going to convert the number back to a letter so we can do the Downy. Hold on. What are we? F2. So we ended up back at 19? Minus L2 minus N2. There's, oh, looks like -1 and, so hold on, 19. Oh, probably because so their defense is so bad. Okay, that would make sense. All right, so we'll fill that down. Then we'll do the same thing on this side, and we'll fill that all the way down. Then we'll have visitor score and home score. I'm going to set up a couple more columns here, as I'll need those. Winner, loser. So I've got 3 more columns that I've set up. Now I'm going to do so we're going to have, how do I want to do this? So what I need to get to is I need to get to automating the winner. So I want to say if this is, actually I think that's how I do this. So if this is greater than this, then give me the visitor. If Q2 greater than H2, give me the home team. Okay, so it gives me a small correction on the formula. Just to test, make sure it's working, let's go 4-1 as being the first game there, and then we'll flip that around. So 1. Okay, perfect. So now all I want to do, so now that we've got that working, all I want to do now is I want to reverse that. So this is going to be if, so this is going to be equal to if that is less than that, give me this. Else if Q2 less than H2, give me that. And then we'll just make sure both of those are working again as we expect them to. Okay, that's not. Oh, I think I just typed in the exact same formula both times. Whoops. Hold up. I want to make sure these formulas are working as they should be. 1, 3. Okay. Looks like they are behaving as intended, so I'm going to go ahead and fill those all the way down as well. So now I'm going to go into the replay standings, and we're going to do a little bit of setup here. So I'm going to do an abbreviation. I'm going to do an abbreviation column, which I've already got here. So let's just do this. Yep. I'll do copy on the rest of these. So now it should be just a matter of taking of doing a VLOOKUP on, actually, I'm gonna have to do this a different way, because what I'm going to need to do, and I just realized this, is I can't VLOOKUP in the other direction. So this part I'll have to do manually, but I'm not gonna bore you with that. What we are going to do though, is I'm going to set up my win and loss formulas. I'm actually going to pull Notepad back up, and I'll move that out of the way for the time being. So what I want to do here, actually no, I do need this so I can make the formulas work. So how do I want to do this? Actually, here's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to make a copy of the abbreviation column and move that over here. That should be temporary. I don't think that'll screw up anything. Nope, it won't screw anything up in the ticker. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a VLOOKUP on the replay standings. So we're going to do VLOOKUP on the team name. Then we're going to go over to the ratings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So B to J, we'll precision fill that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that should give me the abbreviations. Okay. So now I'll fill those into all of the division teams. Actually, I'll fill that in for all of Major League Baseball. Perfect. Wait a second. Tampa Bay. Oh, I think they've got Tampa Bay Devil Rays. I think those two I'm gonna fill in manually. So let's go ahead and do so they're gonna be TBA. Anna, I think it's just those two that I need to be worried about. Yes. All right. Now we'll do a copy paste values on the abbreviations. So those are all set to go. Then I can delete the extra abbreviation column because now I don't need it. But I will need the abbreviation as I set up the other formulas. So we're back into the replay standings. I have 3 more formulas that I want. I want board games, board wins, board losses, and then board winning, and then board percent. So that's percentage on the board. I'm probably also going to have runs scored on the board. That'll be one of my tiebreakers. So now let's set up these formulas. So now we're going to be doing a count if. Let's see, how did the count if work here? So count if should be based on, so that's where we're going to go to the schedule source. That's the ticker, which means I want to go here. Actually, no, the source needs to be, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So schedule source is right there. Go away, Excel. All right. So doing that, schedule R, and then the abbreviation that we want, actually we want, hold on. We want that. Blast it all. And then that is going to be C3. Oh, wait a second. Oh no, we want A3 as the value that we're looking up. No, not 13, A3. Okay, just to make sure that formula is working, let's go over to ticker, find a Yankees game. That shouldn't be too hard. Here we go. So let's say 2 for the Royals, 5 for the Yankees. Okay, perfect. And then the loss is going to be just going to be the reverse of that. So I'm just going to be count if, but now I'm counting on the loss column. I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but that's how that's going to work. Now the board game win and loss is just going to be the exact same thing, but there's going to be an additional condition, and that's where this board column is going to come into play. So what I'm going to end up with for a formula there is if that's marked with an X, or whatever I decide the board game, whatever I decide that, yes, this is the game we're putting on the board is going to be, then it'll count based on that, give me the appearances on the board. And actually, there's one more thing. And I promise we're just about ready to start actually selecting feature games on the board, but there's one more thing that I need to set up. So the other thing we need to set up is what games are what dates are in which blocks. So in order to do that, let's see, I believe there's a way to remove duplicate values, and I'm trying to remember how you do that in Excel. I know for the life of me there's a way to do it, but I don't remember how. Because I've had to do it for I had to do it for the 2009-10 replay as well. Let's see. It's not going to be largest to smallest. I know in ASAP Utilities I could do this in a snap, but the problem is I don't have ASAP Utilities here. Unless there's maybe not anything in group, I don't think. Subtotal, no. Oh, probably helps to actually look in remove duplicates. Haha. Okay. So block. So as I'm dividing the season into scheduled blocks of 4 days, first four days are going to be the block. Then we'll populate this with a simple, then we'll do that plus 1. Fill that all the way down. And I'm going to do a VLOOKUP in the ticker as I'm going to insert a column here. So this is going to be block. Then I'm just going to do a VLOOKUP based on the date into that column. Had to step away for about 10 minutes. What's my game plan with this? What do you mean, what's my game plan with this, Jester? This is just me going through, showing you guys how I set up my ticker for the replay. And once everything's ready, then we're going to go through and actually start picking out the feature games. So here's where I need the dates. These 2 columns. Column 2, false. Okay, perfect. So now I'll do that as well. Copy that, paste values. Hide the irrelevant columns at this point. Now that I'm down to where I want to be with ranking, with ratings, with the final ratings all ready to go, the score columns all set up. Now we are at long last ready to actually start picking out feature games. So I've got fast score. I've also got fast score, which will let me show the pitching matchups as well, because there are some pitchers that I want to spotlight during this replay, and I've got a list of them. I've got a list of 10 pitchers that I had ChatGPT put together for me as being, these are pitchers I want to spotlight during the replay. So the way the schedule block is going to work is the first day I'm going to pick out a feature game to be played on the board. Then I'll fast play the rest via Ultra Quick Baseball, except for the clutch results in fast score, which reminds me, let me make a note here. 2001 clutch, page 62, so I can print that off later. And I thought, oh, I know where my tracker is because I also want to feature all 30 stadiums, so be right back for that. Not to worry, I'm not normally this scatterbrained, but at least I was able to put my hands on everything in 2 seconds in very quick fashion. So let's actually finally start picking out some of our feature games. Block 1 is actually going to be you think I should play them all and not just one from a block. If I did that, Jester, this season replay would take about 25 years to do it. And I don't really feel like playing every single game. So I think we probably had this conversation during one of my other feature game selection shows, but that's the way we're going to do this. So we're going to make a note there. So 2001 board games. What I was looking for was essentially a checklist of teams, a checklist of all the teams, so I can make sure I get all of the stadiums featured. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pick the games that are going to be on the board until, I normally pick into September. I normally pick up to September, but because there's a break of about a week in this season for the September 11th terror attacks, that's the point where we're going to stop picking board games, because at that point I'm going to focus in on the pennant race and start picking the games on the fly. So hopefully that makes a bit more sense. So as we see, April Fool's Day is actually very easy because we've only got the one feature game. We've only got the one game there, so guess what we're featuring on the board? Looks like we're going with the Texas Rangers at the Toronto Blue Jays. And actually for this, I don't need the... I'm not going to tab back and forth at this point. I will go ahead and save this. I'm going to open the replay up on my iPad so I can mark the board games off there. So bear with me just a second while I pull this up on my iPad. Okay, so that one's easy. And actually I'm going to do one more thing here because I'm going to add the ability to filter on, there we go. I'm going to add the ability to filter on here. So now, this way I can actually select the blocks. So that will bring us to April 5th as being our next board day. And unfortunately, I haven't featured any of the pitchers yet on my list. But we do have a game. We do have the game between the Texas Rangers and the Toronto. So I'm going to actually change these headings out. So we're going to call that home and away. So we'll have the Rangers. Rangers are on the road for that one, and the Blue Jays are at home. Okay, so moving over to April 5th. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody on my list there, I don't think. So for block 2, we're looking at April 5th. These are the games we're looking at. Is there anybody on my... Let me just make sure there's nobody on my list here. I don't think there is. No. So I think here we're going to go for the... I think here we'll actually, I take that back. There is somebody on the list here that I did want to feature, and you'll like seeing them early in the season. So actually, for block 2, we're going to go to Coors Field for the St. Louis Cardinals at the Colorado Rockies, which means we'll get an early look at Coors Field. So that is St. Louis and Colorado. Then we'll move over to block 3, which will be April 9th. So April 9th, let's see if there's anybody on my list that I wanted to feature. And there is somebody, there's one pitcher on the list that I wanted to feature, and I think only that one. So we've got, so what did we took the Cardinals at the Rockies. So St. Louis Cardinals on the road, Colorado Rockies at home. This way I make sure I get all 30 stadiums early in the season so that later I can focus on the pennant races. And then for April 9th, I do see somebody I wanted to spotlight. So that's going to be this one. We don't have the Atlanta Braves on the board already right away, do we? No. So we're going to go to Shea Stadium in New York City for the Atlanta Braves at the New York Mets. Kevin Millwood against Kevin Appier. Kevin Appier is the pitcher on my ChatGPT list that I'm looking to spotlight. So we've got Braves at home. Ideally, we get, actually Braves on the road. Ideally, we get fairly even board representation doing it this way. So now into block 4, which will take us to April 12th. So here's our selection of games. Okay, and we've got 2 pitchers. Oh, that'll be a good matchup. Yeah, perfect. That'll make it easy. That'll also get us a look at historically one of the best teams early in baseball, as we'll take the Seattle Mariners at the Oakland Athletics. That is Jamie Moyer for the Mariners against Tim Hudson for the Athletics, and that knocks off 2 of the pitchers on the list of pitchers I wanted to spotlight. So that'll definitely be a good one for us to look at. At least there we are. There he is. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Actually, I've got 12 pitchers on the list. Okay. Now, over to block 5. That takes us to April 15th. So these are the games that we're looking at here. And I don't... As much as Curt Schilling is on the list of pitchers that I wanted to spotlight, but I'm not sure I want to go to Coors Field twice this early in the season. Especially in... You know what? Screw it. We're going to do it. So that'll take us back to Coors Field once again for the Arizona Diamondbacks to take on the Colorado Rockies. I'll try to find the Rockies a road game. Let's see. We didn't carry Wood on the list, did we? No. So we will get Curt Schilling spotlighted here on April 15th. So that'll be the Arizona Diamondbacks at the Colorado Rockies. So Diamondbacks on the road, Rockies get a second home game early, which which I'm not crazy about, but Pettit with the Yankees versus Boston. Okay, that actually solves that problem, and I'm sure Schilling will come up. I'm sure Schilling will come up later in the season on the block. So yeah, I think that'll work a little bit better for that one. Let's see, Pettit with the Yankees. Yeah, that'll be a good one as well. We always get fireworks when we get the Yankees and we get Nomo as well. Surprisingly, neither one of them is on the list, but I don't mind doing a Yankees Red Sox game fairly early in the season, as it's always fireworks when those two lovebirds get together. So yeah, we'll do that instead. Yankees and the Red Sox. Then block 6 brings us to, let's see, why do I have some of these? Oh, I probably have makeups hidden in there as well. I shouldn't. Hold on. Something's not right. I need to tab back into my ticker. Something's not right. I've got some hidden rows in here. I don't know if there's something that didn't fill, or let me close out of this for a second. Something didn't turn out right. Oh, I think I see what... I bet I see what happened here. Hold on. So I want to do the block based on the final date. So let's back up here. We may have to chuck all of our board picks, but let's fix this. So this is going to be VLOOKUP. I wanted to do this based on the final date. So that should be based on that. Hopefully we don't have to chuck all of our board picks so far. Well, let's see. We'll fill that all the way down. So a game. Okay, that is. Okay, B124 I know for a fact is not in block 3. There is no way June 28th is in block 3. Hold on. Oh, hang on. Yep. I think I see what happened. I looks like I didn't resort based on. Okay. So I've actually got to resort that. Wow, I'm totally with it today. Okay. Now I think we've got that a lot more straight. Okay. So now we'll do a sort on final date. Now let me make sure everything is all copacetic. Okay. All right. Now, before we go back to the ticker in Excel, let me go through what we've picked so far. I want to make sure I don't have to junk any of my board picks. Texas at Toronto. That one was kind of hard to screw up. And block 2, we're still fine with Cardinals. I think I marked the wrong game there, so that should be Cardinals and the Rockies should be our board game there. Okay. Somebody's got fat fingers. And block 3, we've got the Braves and the Mets. That one's fine. Block 4. Oh, okay. So that's a board pick we will have to junk. So we'll have to junk block 4. So it looks like block 4 actually starts on April 13th. So it's entirely possible that we may have this problem sorted out. Let's see. Well, I may have spoken too soon about having this sorted out. So, do we have Jeff Weaver on the list? We do not. CC Sabathia is not there either. I'm actually going to leave my list of pitchers right here. So, yeah, looks like. So now that we've got that sorted out, let's actually All right. I think I want a different color pen for this. Which that is not pens. Oh, looks like a little piece of... Okay. All right, now... And I'm dropping my microphone trying to close my desk drawer back up. Fun times. Anywho... Cleveland, Detroit should be a good one. We'll pencil that in for block 4. I just want to make sure I get this all sorted out after having some date troubles and get my picks and get the picks for the board updated, since I've also got to update my tracker now. So now that we've got our dates straight, let's see. Block 1, Texas at Toronto at Texas at Toronto. So Texas away, Toronto home. Block 2, St. Louis at Colorado. That's still fine. St. Louis at Colorado. And block 3, I think we had to junk a pick in here. No, we actually didn't have to junk a pick. We have the Braves and the Mets. Braves are on the road. Mets are at home. And block 4. Okay, I think block 4 was April 13th. That's... Okay, April 13th. Which game system? I'm using Payoff Pitch for this one. So actually, April 13th looks like where we started having... Yeah, it looks like block 4 is actually where we started having problems. So, yeah, let's go ahead and go to Tiger Stadium for the Cleveland Indians and the Detroit Tigers. CC Sabathia for the Indians against Jeff Weaver for the Tigers. That should be a good one. And now I think we can go... So yeah, we'll do that for block 4. Cleveland at Detroit. There we are. Okay. So now I can close back out of Excel now that we got all that. Now that we got all that hammered out. Apologies for the drama there, but hey, you never know what happens when you're live, right? Now, block 5 takes us to April 17th. Let's see, did I have to junk? I had to junk the Tim Hudson. I had to junk a Tim Hudson Jamie Moyer matchup, but we get Tim Hudson and Jamie Moyer in separate games. And I think here, I actually kind of want to look at I want an early season look at the Seattle Mariners. So here, we're going to go to Safeco Field. That puts Texas on the board twice early, though. And April 17th is your birthday. Well, we're going to be, in this replay, we're going to be getting to April 17th in January. The only thing I don't like about going to the Mariners there is we put the Rangers on the board twice very early in the season. I want to try to get them a home game if I can. So I think what we're going to do here, we've still got Kevin Appier that we've gotten to. So I think instead we're going to go to Anaheim, which I believe is probably Angel Stadium at this point, for the Oakland Athletics and the Anaheim Angels. So Oakland and Anaheim. And then that will be our board game there. Block 6 is our next block. And that is starting on April 21st. Let's see who we've got cooked up here. Okay, those are our games to look at. And I don't want to do the Angels back-to-back. That would give me a Jamie Moyer matchup. But let's see. Who have we not had on the board yet? You know what? Let's go to Three Rivers Stadium. That probably is going to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for a matchup between the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Kerry Wood against Todd Ritchie. Okay, marked that one off already. Block 7. Let's see, block 7 is going to start us on April 25th. Ooh. I think I just saw one game I'm very tempted by. Do we have the... We have the Red Sox. I think we had to junk a Red Sox pick because I screwed up the scheduling. Ooh. We've got a couple of good ones because I've got 2 of the pitchers on my list, in Pedro Martinez and Curt Schilling. I think we just did an American League game. And Pedro, I think, was hurt. So I think we're going to go for another American League game. We'll head to Fenway Park for April 25th. I want to get a Pedro Martinez game in fairly early in the season before he gets hurt. So the Minnesota Twins will be headed there to take on the Boston Red Sox on the board. Then block 8. Will start us on April 29th. April 29th. These are our games that we have to choose from, and we haven't had the Yankees on the board yet, and Roger Clemens is on my list of pitchers that I want to spotlight, so I think we're going to go to him next as we go to Yankee Stadium for the Oakland Athletics. Actually, do we have the Oakland Athletics on? We have them at home, so now we're primarily done with the Athletics if we can avoid them until we get at least everybody else on the board. So we'll go with the Oakland Athletics at the New York Yankees. That should be a good one. Barry Zito against Roger Clemens. That should be a hell of a pitching matchup. Okay, then block 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I should have one board game. I'm not going to screw with it right now. I just want to make sure I get all the stadiums on the board. So block 9 is going to start on May 3rd. These are our games that we have to choose from. And if we go to... Let's see. Tim Hudson is on the list, and I had to junk a Tim Hudson matchup earlier. Ooh. We're going to take a break from the American League because we'll get to visit the defending 1985 World Series champion Montreal Expos for another pitcher who is on the list, and Randy Johnson. Yeah, he's at the top of the list. So we'll head up to Stade Olympique, or whatever it's called, in 2001, which will also be the site of the 2001 demo game. But in this case, the Arizona Diamondbacks will be taking on the Montreal Expos. So, Diamondbacks, and I'm using the Nationals to represent the Expos. Okay, block 10. And thank you guys, everybody who's tuned in, for spending part of your Saturday morning with me. I know this isn't the most exciting thing in the world to do, but I do appreciate you guys stopping by for a little bit. We've got a fairly limited selection on May 7th. Who do we not have games for yet? Actually, we have quite a few teams that we need games for yet. We could have we'll have the Chicago White Sox, I think, debut on the board here. So yeah, we'll go down to Arlington, probably Texas Stadium, for the Chicago White Sox at the Texas Rangers. So Chicago White Sox on the road, Texas Rangers at home, and now we can skip the Rangers in terms of priorities. So block 11 is going to start us on May 11th. These are our games that we have to choose from. You know what? I think that all works out, as now we get to go to Bank One Ballpark for the Philadelphia Phillies at the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it gets me Curt Schilling on my list on the board. So Diamondbacks at home, Phillies on the road. That'll work nicely. And block 12, come on. Block 12 starts us on May 15th. Ooh, a Roger Clemens, Tim Hudson matchup. I don't want to put the Athletics on the board. Well, the Athletics are apparently supposed to be pretty good. So, actually, we need to get both the Giants and the Marlins on the board. Let me look at my list here. I don't think we have anybody from the list on here that we've not already spotlit. So I think here we're just going to go to Florida. We're going to head down to Miami, Florida, for a matchup between the San Francisco Giants and the Florida Marlins. That is Livan Hernandez against Ryan Dempster. That should be a good one. Let's see, Giants. Where do I have? Oh, I think I'm looking under Miami Marlins. That's right. All right, block 13. We're not even out of May yet for this one. So going to May 19th. Let's see. I don't think we don't have a game for the we haven't had the Brewers on the board yet, but it looks like the Brewers don't play here. How about the Rays? We haven't had them on the board yet. I don't think we've had the Detroit Tigers yet, the defending 1985 American League champions, on the board. So you know what? Let's put those two on the board next. We'll go to Tampa Bay Stadium in Tampa Bay for the Detroit Tigers at the Tampa Bay Devil Rays before they became the Tampa Bay Rays. That is Chris Holt going for the Tigers and Albie Lopez going for the Devil Rays. Okay, block 14 coming up next. Got to run. Doing a Tear the Shrink video of Run, Fight, or Die, and I have to get it done before noon. Buckeyes game starts at noon. Take care, Jester. I probably won't be able to stop by for that because I'll still be busy here. But I'll try to give that a watch after I get done. I'll try to give that a watch after I get done here. So take care, and I will probably see you a little bit later because I do have a game coming up that I want to get to on the channel a little bit later. So hopefully I'll see you for that. But I'm going to hold close to the vest what that game is until I'm ready to go live with it. Block 14 will take us to May 23rd. Looking at these, I don't think there's much that's really... strike that, actually. I don't think we've had the Mariners... Hold on, was that a... Let me... Okay, so we're on... I'm going to mark block 14 for a second. You think I might like Run, Fight, or Die? Well, I will make a point of stopping by I'll make a point of watching that probably after you go live with it, since I expect I'll still be here. Anywho, I just want to check something because I'm pretty sure I've had I want to make sure I've got all these games accounted for so far. So Rangers at the Blue Jays. Let's see, we should have 26 marks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which one am I missing? Cubs are on the road. So I'm missing one of these. Oh, I think Braves on the Mets. No, that's not the one I'm missing. How about Mariners? That's the one I'm missing. So the Mariners on the road. The Athletics at home. So that gives me 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Now that we got that sorted out, now we're back to picking out our games here. So now we're back to block 14, I think was May 23rd. Yep, May 23rd. Okay, so looking at this, we've got a double header here, but I don't think that's the game we're going to go to. So let's look at teams that I haven't had on the board yet, and actually, there's a few that we haven't even had on the board yet, to say nothing of getting them their home and away games. I don't want to do another Rockies home game. So I think what we're going to do here is Los Angeles. We've had the Angels on the road. Let's see. Detroit, Cleveland. Detroit at Cleveland. We've had. So I think we're going to go to. I'm going to bring the Mariners at home. You know what? Let's actually put the White Sox on the board for the first. No, the White Sox wouldn't be on the board for the first time. How about the Houston Astros and the San Diego Padres, both on the board for the first time? That'll work. So Kevin Jarvis going for the Padres and Kent Bottenfield for the Astros. That's the game we'll go with there. So Padres on the road, Astros at home. Block 15. Starts on May 27th. These are our games. I don't want to do an Astros-Dodgers game, although we do need to get the Dodgers on the board at some point. The Royals are playing the Mariners, and we haven't had Jamie Moyer on the board yet. He's one I wanted to spotlight. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Yankees. I don't think we haven't had the Indians on the board yet, have we? That might have been a pick I had to junk too. No, actually we have it. We do have them on the board. Actually, I think I got them reversed. So the Tigers. Yeah, the Tigers are actually at home for that one. The Indians are on the road. Okay, so I got that. Now that we got that all straight. Okay. Wow, come on. My filter is not, there we go. I was going to say my filter is not cooperating in Excel on my iPad. Block 15, there we are. So this is May 27th that we're looking at. And Kansas City Royals at the Seattle Mariners. So what stadiums haven't we featured yet? You know what? Let's actually put the Rockies on the road for the first time on the board. So we will go to either, I don't know if it's 3Com Park yet at this point, but we'll take the Colorado Rockies at the San Francisco Giants, and that'll get us our first look at Barry Bonds and company on the board. Let's see, June. So that's actually, this is May 31st that we're looking at. Okay. So looking at the games we've got on the board here, we have had the actually let's. Okay, yeah, let's do Minnesota Twins at the Anaheim Angels. That way, we get the Twins on the road. Actually, we get. No, I don't need the Twins on the road. Actually, you know what? We haven't had the Baltimore Orioles on the board yet. So let's go to them next, along with the Seattle Mariners. So we're going to go to Safeco Field for the Baltimore Orioles at the Seattle Mariners. We'll do that as our board game there. Block 17 is going to take us to June 4th. Let's see, do we have a Yankee Stadium game yet? We do. We don't have yet is a Twins game at home. Actually, we haven't had the Dodgers on the board at all yet. So, have we had all these stadiums on the board yet? Let's see. I think the Metrodome is probably the one we have not. Safeco Field, Yankee Stadium. Bank One Ballpark, probably. Candlestick 3Com. And we have not had Busch Stadium yet, or either one of those against games that haven't been on the board yet. Actually, we haven't had the Reds on the board yet at all, so let's go to Busch Stadium in St. Louis for the Reds at the Cardinals. Reds on the road, Cardinals at home. Okay. Block 18. It's going to take us to June 8th. Okay, let's look for teams that we haven't had on the board yet. And oh, this must be interleague play at this point. So we haven't had the Brewers on the board yet. So we're looking for the Brewers, the Dodgers, and the Royals. Those are the three teams we need on the board yet. The Brewers are on the road. The Tigers have been on the board. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting into an interleague section. We've got Roy Oswalt on my list. Excuse me, but we've had the Rangers at home, so I'm not wanting them. So we've got the Brewers on the road. We've got the Dodgers at home. Ooh, Cross California series could be interesting. And the Royals are at home as well. Oh, another visit from Randy Johnson. Yeah, you know what? Let's go to Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. We'll get another look at the big unit as Randy Johnson will be taking on Paul Burt on the board. So that's Diamondbacks on the road, Royals at home. There's a few stadiums we need. Let's see, Block 19. So we're still early June. We've got plenty of time to flesh some of these out. Takes us to June 12th. Still in our interleague play for the most part. Are there any teams we haven't had on the board yet? We're still looking for the Dodgers, I think, to make their board debut, and they will. Unless, actually, let me see if there's anybody on my pitcher list. But if there's nobody on the pitcher list, then I think the Dodgers are going to make their board debut here. Tim Hudson. Do we need a game in San Diego? We do, but I think I want to get a Dodger debut here. So we're going to go to Dodger Stadium on June 12th, as the Los Angeles Dodgers will be playing the Texas Rangers. That'll be a board game. Let's see, Block 20 is going to take us to June 16th. Let's see, we had it. Okay, now have we had every team on the board at least once? We still need a Brewers debut on the board. And I think they're going to get it here. So we're going to go to Miller. I'm trying to remember if it was Miller Park at this point, but we are going to go into Milwaukee for the Kansas City Royals to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll finally get the Brewers on the board, and I think now we've at least had every team on the board. Now I need to worry about filling in my stadiums. So I need a game in San Diego, Philadelphia, Minnesota, at Anaheim, Cleveland, Cincinnati, both Chicagos, Baltimore, and I think Atlanta. Let me filter that, see if we've had a home game for the Braves on the board. Filter items. We have not had a game on the board for the Braves. I think I had to junk a pick for them earlier. Okay, so now we're on block. Now we should be on block 20. I believe it's block 21, but let me double check my dates here. Yep. Okay, so block 21. Takes us to June 20th. actually, you know what? I think Greg Maddux... Yep, Greg Maddux was on my list. And we need a home game for the Braves anyway, so I think that'll work out very nicely. We'll head down to Atlanta Stadium. I don't know if it's still Fulton County or if it's Turner Field at this point for the Florida Marlins to take on the Atlanta Braves. And Greg Maddux will be matching up with A.J. Burnett. Okay, that's block 21. Block 22. Filter items. Block 22 will take us to June 24th. Okay. All right, so we still need games in San Diego, Philadelphia, Minnesota. And we've still got our fairly long list here. And you know what? I think we're going to get a game at Wrigley Field. Actually, let me see if there's anybody on the list. Randy Johnson, but we were going to be featuring him twice on the board. So I think, yeah, we are going to go to Wrigley Field as the Milwaukee Brewers are going to take on the Chicago Cubs. And that'll be a matchup between Ben Sheets and Jason Beret. Block 23 is going to take us to June 28th. And a fairly limited slate of games here. But let's prioritize getting the stadiums that we still need. Nobody on my pitcher list. So I think here we're going to go to... We're going to go to San Diego for this one, I think. Are we going to go to San Diego? Yes, we are. So we'll go to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Dodgers at the Padres. Find that on my iPad. There we are. Block 24 is going to take us to July 2nd. Okay, and looks like we still need a game on the south side. So I think that is what we're going to go. Is that what we're going to go with? We need a game in Cleveland as well, though. We don't need one in Texas. We don't need one in Toronto. I'm trying to keep... The reason I'm being so careful about my board games is because the first tiebreaker in my replay standings is going to be wins on the board. Well, actually, that's the second tiebreaker. First tiebreaker is head-to-head, because that's another reason I'll be keeping everything in Excel, so I can link the spreadsheet up to Access and check the head-to-head standings that way. So second tiebreaker is board record, which is why I'm trying to keep my board appearances as even as possible. Now, later in the season, that's going to get a little bit hard to do, because later in the season, I'll be focused on pennant races. So let's see, July 2nd. I'd like to find a road game for the Yankees if I can. Let's see. Let's see what stadiums we still have that we still need. Chicago, Cleveland. We established Yankee Stadium we don't need. Oakland, we've got 2 there, so we don't need that. Texas, we're good. Toronto, we're good. Cincinnati, we need a game there yet. And we need the Pirates on the road anyway, so that might be a tempting one. We've got a game in Los Angeles for the Dodgers and a game at Miller Park. So I think we are going to go to Cincinnati for that one on July 2nd, as well as the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Block 25 is going to take us to July 6th. We should be getting near the All-Star break here pretty soon. Okay, looks like we got a full slate of games here. Another interleague block. Let's see, Philadelphia is not at home. Okay, Philadelphia, Phillies on the road. Minnesota is at home against Cincinnati. That'd put them on the board 3 times, which is fine. I'm probably not going to have completely even board appearances anyway. The Angels are on the road. Cleveland is also at home. White Sox are at home as well. The Orioles are also home. So let's go to... Jester will be happy with another Cleveland appearance. So let's go to Cleveland Stadium, as we'll have the St. Louis Cardinals stop by to play the Cleveland Indians on the board. So we'll go with that for block 25. Block 26 is going to should take us through the All-Star break. Yeah. July 13th. I haven't decided yet. So these are the games. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to play the All-Star game. Normally I don't, but because I have the PDF of the 2001 season, I might go for the list, print off the 2001 All-Star game and play that. I haven't decided yet what I want to do with that, though. So, coming back to picking our games here, Philadelphia is at home on the board. Let's see. So we need that. Minnesota is on the road. The Angels are also at home in another game with Curt Schilling, although that would put the Diamondbacks on the board 4 times, which I'm not in love with. White Sox are on the road. Crosstown Series could be tempting. And the Orioles are on the road. So I think here we're going to go to one at a stadium that we don't have yet. I think we're going to go to Philadelphia. So we'll take the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies in a rematch of the 1993 World Series. So let me find that one. There we are. Okay. Filter. So now we're on block. I believe that was block 20. Is that 25? No, that wasn't block 25. I believe we're on block 27 now. Let me just check 26 though. Yep, 26 is the one we just picked, so we're on block 27 now. Okay, July 17th. So these are our games. Let's see, we need games in Minnesota, which the Twins are on the road. Anaheim, they're at home. Looks like we've got another interleague block. White Sox are on the road. Baltimore is on the road. So I think by default of the only stadium we need in this block, we're going to go to Anaheim, which is Angel Stadium probably. We're going to take the Los Angeles Angels hosting the San Diego Padres. That puts the Padres on the board 3 times, but I can't really avoid that here. Block 28 is going to take us to July 21st. These are our games that we have to choose from. Let's see. We still need games in Minnesota, at the White Sox, and at the Orioles. All 3 of whom are at home, so we're definitely doing one of those games. Let's see. So who of their opponents has the least appearances on the board? Anaheim is on the board twice. Boston is only on the board once, so it's probably going to be them. And let's see, what was the other one we were looking for? The Mariners have been on the board twice. So I think by virtue of having been on the board the least... Oh, we still need to go to... Okay, never mind. So we're going to take the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago White Sox. And once again, we're going to have an American League fashion show on the board. We had one on the board during 1985 as well. Block 29 takes us to July 25th. Let's see. We still need games in Minnesota and Baltimore. Is either one of them at home? No. Both are on the road. So now I think we can go. Now we think we can look to the pitcher list and see if there's anybody on the list that I want to spotlight. And there is not. Nope. So let's look at if there's anybody who's only been on the board once. The Montreal Expos have only been on the board once. Tampa Bay has also only been on the board once. Well, I think we're going to take the... Let's go for... I don't want to go to a Coors Field again. That'll be our... Actually, that'll only be our second visit to Coors Field. You know what? Let's actually stop in with the Seattle Mariners again. So we'll go to Safeco Field for the Seattle Mariners hosting the Kansas City Royals. We're probably going to see a lot of Seattle on the board once we get to the playoffs, especially. So that was block 29 that we just picked. Block 30, speaking of 29, is going to take us to July 29th. And looking at our stadiums that we still need, Minnesota and Baltimore still, neither of whom are at home. So pitcher list. Freddie Garcia is on the list. I don't want to go to a third home game in Seattle, especially when I expect to see a lot of them in the playoffs. So who's been on the board the least? Let's go with the Atlanta Braves and the Montreal Expos. So Atlanta, Montreal. Actually, yep. All right, so that's the game we'll take. Block 31. Once I get that set, is going to take us to August 2nd. And I already see Baltimore at home. And how about Minnesota? Minnesota is on the road. So I think by virtue of we still need to go to Baltimore, we're going to take that one. And actually that gets the Rays on the board for a second time. So the Baltimore Orioles will be hosting the Tampa Bay Devil Rays on August 2nd. Then block 32 should take us to August 6th. Yep. And here's our ever-impressive selection of games on the board. Let's see. The last stadium we need for the season is the Metrodome, presumably, but the Twins aren't even playing. So, let's see. The Rangers will have been on the board 3 times. How if we had both New York teams on the board once? Let's fix that. That'll put the Angels on the board a 3rd time, but that's probably fine. So we'll go to Yankee Stadium once again, as the Anaheim Angels will play the New York Yankees. Block 33 will take us to August 10th. And I see Minnesota on the road again, so we're not using that game. Looks like we're going for spotlight pitchers. Nobody on the list we can use. So, has anybody... All right, you know what? Let's go down to... let's go down to Florida. Let's go down to Miami once again, as we'll take the Houston Astros at the Florida Marlins. So that's home for the Marlins, away for the Astros. And I think at this point, if I see a home Minnesota game on the board, I'm probably going to take that, barring a catastrophe. Block 34, which we still don't have, so August 14th. These are our games, and I see the Twins are on the road once again. Looking at our list, let's see. Roy Oswalt needs to be... we've got a couple of spotlight pitchers. Mark Burley, Roy Oswalt. Let's see, who's been on the board the least of the two? I think they've both only been on the board twice. Yeah, they both have only been on the board twice. And we just picked, I think we just picked an Astros game, so let's go for the White Sox. That's going to put the Rangers on the board 4 times. I'm not crazy about that. So block 34. Let's see, the Cubs have only been on the board twice, so I think that's actually fine. We'll head down to Minute Maid Park in Houston as the Cubs take on the Astros. That will be Julian Tavares for the Cubs against Roy Oswalt for the Astros. Okay, block 35 will take us to August 18th. And look at that, I see the Twins are at home. So I think by virtue of needing to get the Twins a home game, that's the one we're going to take. We're going to take the Minnesota Twins against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Where is it on here? Oh, Minnesota. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Block 36 coming up next. That takes us to August 22nd. And now I want to try to keep board appearances even while spotlighting my list of pitchers if I can, but I don't think I'm going to get to them all, at least during the regular season. So I want to make sure I start spreading out board appearances a little bit more now. Looks like we've had the Mets who have only been on the board once. So I want to try to throw them another board game. It's going to be, how many times have the Rockies been on the board? That'll be 3 times for the Rockies. That's probably fine. So we'll take a trip up to Shea Stadium to get the New York Mets against the Colorado Rockies. So Mets at home, Rockies on the road. Okay, block 37. We're starting to get near the September 11th break. So August 26th. These are games to choose from. Let's see. We have nobody new on the spotlight list. I thought I'd spotlighted Matt Morris, but apparently I probably have somewhere earlier in the season. Let's see, has anybody only been on the board once at this point? Nope, I think we've got everybody on the board at least twice now. So I want to prioritize not getting anybody on the board more than 3 times. Just to keep my tiebreakers as even as I can. So that means I want to bypass the Rockies for sure. Reds and the Expos. I'd like to get the Expos a road game on the board. Let's see. Yankees and Anaheim would put the Angels on the board 4 times. I don't want that. Rangers at the that's Blue Jays at the Orioles. That I think is fine. So we'll go back to Baltimore once again, as the Toronto Blue Jays will visit the Baltimore Orioles. We're actually getting pretty close here. Block 38. It's going to take us to August 30th. Let's see, we've got every stadium featured on the board now. So now it's, like I said, now it's a matter of spreading out board appearances to keep it somewhat even. And I think that'd put the Braves on the board 4 times. I'm not crazy about that. Twins and the Rangers, same problem. Let's see, Marlins and the Cubs. Would put them both on the board 4 times. Not crazy about that. Reds and the Astros, probably the same problem. Let's see, Padres and the Cardinals, no. That'd put them both on the board 4 times. Red Sox and the Indians. Actually, that's actually a good matchup. Let's do that one. Let's go to Cleveland for that one. Boston Red Sox against the Cleveland Indians. That is Hideo Nomo against Bartolo Colon. That'll be a good matchup. Block 39 will take us into September. September 3rd to be exact. Okay. Let's see. Like I said, we've got all of our stadiums featured at this point, so I'm not too worried about. So I'm not worried about that at this point. Let's see. Pirates and the Brewers in a doubleheader. Yeah, I think that's fine. So Brewers and the Pirates will take. This should be a double. Hold on, something. Oh, I see what happened. We'll take either one of these games. I don't think it really much matters here. So we'll take one of those. I wish this showed the pitcher matchups. So I wish Downey gave me access to the pitcher matchups. Actually, if I get this in Excel, I'm not going to pick that fight right now, especially since I'd run into problems with my VLOOKUP. But we will take the Brewers and the Pirates in one of the games of the doubleheader. There we are. Block 40 is going to start getting us close to the September 11th attacks. September 7th, actually, this might take us right... Yeah, the end of this block is actually going to be September 11th. So that's going to be... Yep. You can see here, we've got the week break that I was accommodating for. So as we go back to September 7th, this will be the last game that we pre-pick on the board. And then after this point, so this is after block 40, at this point we're going to start picking our feature games on the fly. Ooh. Do I want Boston and New York? That would be a third game for the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, but Pedro Martinez versus Orlando Hernandez, that's a hard matchup to pass up. So is Greg Maddux against Kerry Wood. But I think that's what we're going to go with. I think we're going to go back to Yankee Stadium once again for the Boston Red Sox against the New York Yankees. Pedro Martinez against Orlando Hernandez is a hard matchup to pass up. It'll put them on the board 4 times. It'll put Boston on the board 4 times, the Yankees on the board 3. But I expect we'll be seeing a lot of them during the pennant race anyway. So after a lot of rambling, that will actually do it for the 2001 Feature Game Selection Show. So after the September 11th break, that's when we'll start picking our feature games on the fly. And in fact, the game after that block will be our first game that we pick on the board. So I'll have access to the standings in real time, where I'll be able to pick out the best game with playoff implications on the board. Let me make sure I got all of them marked off. I'm just checking on my iPad. Okay, perfect. So we've got that all set to go. So that'll do it for the 2001 Feature Game Selection Show. Thank you guys for spending part of your Saturday morning with me. I know you've probably got other things you could be doing, but thank you for stopping by. Got a lot coming up on the channel. Later today, we're going to have a couple of uploads. Mystical Munchies will be first with the entree for Redo Month as we go back to the Dungeons & Dragons Flavors of the Multiverse cookbook to make the entree Rothy Steak. And we'll have a game later this afternoon as well, but I'm going to hold that close to the vest. Tomorrow morning, we'll have the fall campaign in B-17 Flying Fortress Leader by DVG continue. As for Wednesday, what are we doing Wednesday? We're stepping back into the background campaign for Hero Realms, I think. I've got my iPad right here, so that's easy enough to check. Once it decides it wants to actually behave. That is not what I wanted to do at all. I wanted to scroll through my sheets here. 2025 board games. Yep, we're stepping back into the background campaign for Hero Realms. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.